Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Melanie with Whole Again 1111. I'm really excited to have someone that I think is really special on my channel today. He's not just a friend. He's also a healer and a teacher and somebody who has helped me considerably on my evolution, with my evolution and my healing and transformational journey. His name is Robert Christian Minson. He goes by R. Christian Minson. And you can see him in the corner of the screen, I believe, and he'll be talking in just a minute, and we'll be going back and forth. So get comfortable, grab a cup of coffee or some tea or a glass of wine. You're going to learn a lot today, and you're also, I believe, going to receive some really helpful tools and tips regarding how you can really impact your own healing journey and transformation as you continue to move towards your goals and your dreams. Christian helped me with mine, and I know that he can help you with yours. So before so hi, Christian, welcome.
Hi, welcome to you and all your fans out there. I'm happy to be on your channel.
Well, I'm really glad you're here. Just so everybody knows, Christian is tuning in from Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Costa Rica, and they do all sorts of beautiful things such as ayahuasca and breath work and so on and so forth, and he's the director of breath work there. He also owns his own company. I'm actually going to read his formal bio. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how he helped me, and then I'm going to get into some questions with him that I think will really support all of you. Again, with some of the things that you hear me talking about on my channel, and you've heard me talk about how I've overcome various obstacles and barriers and limitations, how I've worked to open my heart and really get to a place of giving and receiving and enlightenment and evolution and so on and so forth. So Christian is the owner of Breath Flow Wellness. It's his own business. He's an entrepreneur. He's also an international speaker and best-selling author, contributing author to a book that he's going to talk about during this broadcast. He's also a trainer, a coach, and he owns a holistic health business that really helps people heal and transform. And we're going to talk a lot about what he does. One of the things I loved about Christian and I met during the time when I was in Toastmasters International. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's an international organization to help you become a better speaker, public speaker, professional speaker, to improve your communication and leadership skills. So we met during our time in that organization, and we became really good friends, and we both were aligned in regards to our healing practices. And I was really going through my own spiritual journey and sort of understanding my own intuitive gifts and so on and so forth. And Christian was somebody I went to for several different services that I'll share in just a second. What I want to tell you, one of the things I loved about Christian when I met him is that I learned that he had been a monk for 10 years with the Self-Realization Fellowship in Los Angeles. And that really drew me to him as somebody I knew I could trust that had gone through his own journey of self-realization, healing, connecting with a higher source, truly understanding who he is and how he can serve in a greater capacity. So that really drew me to him. And I think that that experience that he had, and he might talk a little bit about that in this broadcast, really benefits his clients in a pretty significant way. What I want to tell you about Christian also is that he's traveled internationally, speaking, training, and more so than anything, really counseling people, spiritually counseling them through breath work and other modalities in order to help them connect with themselves so that they can have better relationships with others after healing from trauma and so on and so forth. So that's the formal introduction. What I really want to tell you about Christian is that he helped me release some pretty significant emotional blockages in my sacral chakra and my other chakras. And he helped me, and he's been helping me with my soul's liberation and aiding me in my evolution. And you all have heard me talk about him on my channel a couple different times now in regards to going through the purging process, dark nights of the soul, really digging into some core wounds that have held me back from, attaining some of the things in my life that I truly wanted, like partnership, romantic love, really being able to be vulnerable and authentic in my authenticity, as who I am in the world, how I carry myself, and more so than anything, the impact that I can make. So He's helped me with the purging process, releasing, clearing, integrating, so on and so forth. So I know that's a long introduction, but I felt like I needed to paint a picture of how significant your work has helped me, Christian. It's, I love the work that you do, and you have such an impact in the world. And I'm really thrilled and honored that you decided to be on the channel today.
Well, thank you. And like, maybe to sum it up, we were talking the other day that I really feel like I'm a catalyst for evolution and awakening. That's that, and everything to dovetail that whole monastic experience into this conversation. Really gave me the framework from which I now operate. That I see everything from a spiritual perspective, and that's what I help people really to do, is to see their problems, their challenges from a different perspective that gives them more choices than to feel like they're trapped in the minutia of their particular challenge at that time.
Fantastic. Well, so I thought we might start with, what is transformational breath? How does that modality assist people in their healing and their evolution process? I know that with me, you worked on helping me let go and detach, really secure some freedom in my life, and let go and detach from core wounds related to my father and to family ancestral issues and legacy issues and things that I was holding on to that was affecting my mental, physical, and emotional health. So can you talk a little bit about what transformational breath work is and how that modality can help people in their healing and their evolution?
Sure. Well, transformational breath is a powerful spiritual self-healing modality. We're using the breath to operate on 3 levels of our being: physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Physically, we're learning to breathe better. We're learning to take deeper breaths to oxygenate the body so that the body can operate better. Your brain operates better with oxygen. Your muscles operate better with oxygen. Your organs function better with oxygen. On an emotional level, we're learning that the breath and the emotions have an intimate link. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the easiest way to control how we feel in any given moment is to control our breath. So people do this unconsciously all the time. When they get into a situation where they don't want to feel an emotion coming up, they'll hold the breath. And that, that temporarily might seem like a good thing, in that we're able to avoid that emotion in that moment. But actually what we're doing is we're holding that energy in us, and that creates problems over time. So that energy gets stuffed and stored away. Here at Rythmia, we talk about it like as if each emotion that we stuff is like sealing it in a little plastic Ziploc bag and putting it in your, storing it in your field. And after a while, all these Ziploc bags are full of this emotional energy. But if you ever used a Ziploc bag, they're not very seal tight, and stuff leaks out. So these emotions start to leak out, and they discolor our perceptions, basically. That they affect the choices we make, the people that we end up interacting with, the relationships we get into. All of these things are discolored by this background of these discordant emotions, and can have a significant impact for the negative in our lives. So through the breath work, it's like we access those bags and we pop them open. Now, that may seem counterintuitive. We just tried to seal all those bags and put them down inside, but opening the bags and bringing that energy to the surface is the method of integration, basically. The cliche is the only way out of your stuff is to go through your stuff. So it's like we have to face these emotions in some way, shape, or form. the breath work offers an opportunity to not only help us to recognize these emotions, but gives us a method to express them, and ultimately a way to integrate that energy or release it for good, so that we've got the space open for fresh, new energy to come in, and we can be more present to our life's experience and be more in the moment. And then there's finally the third level is the spiritual level. And the way I describe this is it really the others around us, and ultimately to our creator, our whether that's God or the universal energy, or however you relate to that.
Okay, you cut out a little bit there, but I think we got the essence of it. So just as an aside, what happens when somebody doesn't learn to start to use some of this transformational breath work, and they go years and years and years of not learning to breathe effectively and use this modality to help themselves heal?
Well, first of all, let me apologize for the internet up front. Costa Rica is beautiful in environment, very rudimentary as far as technology is concerned. So, but to answer your question, the effects of all that is that we build expressed emotions. And Sigmund Freud, the great psychotherapist, psychoanalyst, said, he has a quote that says, "Unexpressed emotions never die. They just reemerge in darker and uglier ways." So we think by stuffing all this energy down, we're avoiding it, but really it's like we're carrying it everywhere we go, and it reemerges in darker and uglier ways. In my life, that happened. I used to be somebody who very much could not express himself, could not express his emotions, and they came out in darker and uglier ways as moods. So I was a very moody individual as a child. And moods are very incongruous with the environment you're in. So if you're, I'd be in a happy, everybody else is partying happy around me, and I'm sulking in the corner, and, somebody tries to get me out of it, and I just, would be very non-interactive. And so another thing that happens as we store this energy, we have to store it in our body field, meaning that physically we're actually, this energy is the energy of emotions. And if you look at the word emotion, it's emotion, energy in motion. So our emotions are this energy that's in motion. And if we're storing it, it's bouncing around our system and causing us consternation, causing havoc in our system. So we have to take a tremendous amount of energy and lock that energy down. And when we do that, we lock certain emotions in different parts of our body. For example, anger tends to be locked down in our shoulders and neck. That's why where the expression comes from, he's a real pain in the neck, because we're angry at somebody, we're not expressing it, we lock that anger up in our shoulders and neck, and now we have this pain here. And this is what I'm getting at, is as we store this emotional energy, we can develop chronic physical pain, and ultimately we can develop disease, the worst of which is, cancers, generally speaking. And, so we can become physically debilitated by this stored emotional energy that's unable to express.
Great, thank you. That is very helpful. And I think it's important for people to hear the effects of what could happen if you don't take your breathing seriously. I know that I paid the price carrying so much heaviness in my chest, the grief, the pain over the years and didn't understand how significant it was creating stagnation and exhaustion and fatigue, and also manifested as a uterine fibroid and so on and so forth. And so, I realized when I started doing breath work with you that as I released it, each time I worked with you, I felt so much lighter and almost euphoric. But more so than anything, I felt this expansion in my body where there had been constriction, and we're going to talk about that. I know you're going to talk about that in just a second. So, so let's talk about, I know oftentimes people think that breath work should come after meditation, or they should do meditation first. Oftentimes when we're talking about healing or evolution or transformation, people automatically go do meditation. Go get mindful, go do meditation. And it's the first sort of Band-Aid that's put on this, on people in regards to go get still, go do meditation. Oftentimes you hear people say, I don't know how to meditate, I can't meditate. What I learned from you, and I think is important for the viewers, is to understand why breath work is a precursor to meditation, why it should be done prior to meditation. So can you explain that a little bit? And
sure. Yeah. Well, and this comes from my years as a monk, where we would meditate about 4.5 hours each day on average. And then that's been for 10 years of my life. And I've been on a meditative path for probably the last 24 years. So I've had a lot of meditation in my life. And, the lore of the meditation goes that the techniques of meditation were really higher age techniques. They were, in the ancient days, they were techniques that only a privileged few were allowed to, and that you gain that privilege by a lot of years of disciplinary study and struggle. Like you learn to discipline the body, you learn to discipline the mind, and at some point then you were then given the meditation techniques, and you could actually meditate then. So the techniques were disseminated to the masses through some divine ordination, so that we're able to use them today. By and large, common everyday folk like you and me who have struggles in life and need some kind of respite from those struggles. Those of higher consciousness deemed it beneficial for us to get access to. So it help on a very beneficial level. What I think, what I've come to feel is going on here is that there's still very higher level techniques, and they kind of assume that you've done that groundwork to begin with, meaning the groundwork of clearing your emotions out, clearing the disturbances from your consciousness, so that when you sit down to meditate, you're not spending 30 minutes to an hour just trying to control things enough to get to a state where you could try to meditate.
Right.
So this is where breathwork comes in, and as a precursor to meditation, one of the biggest functions of breathwork is that emotional integration piece. And this is what I feel meditation lacks. It doesn't lack it it just assumes that we've done that part already. So it's starting from a place where that groundwork has to be done. Breathwork provides a process that can get that groundwork done. So it's a lot more, where meditation, you have to stay in basically a very rigid, still body space and a very still mental space. And this is very difficult for a lot of people, especially if there's emotional upheaval going on in the system. Remember, those emotions, that energy and motion is bouncing around in there. Yeah. So the breath work, you don't have to be physically still to do breath work, and you don't have to worry about your mind being singularly focused. You just focus on your breath and you allow the energies to arise. And as those emotions come up, you allow yourself to express them. and you keep breathing with them, and you siphon off, or you release those emotional energies. So then, when you actually go to meditate, the amount of mental and emotional disturbance is considerably less. And then you can go into meditation with a much more calm, clear focus and do what meditation is supposed to do.
So what is integration when we're talking about integration? I know it has 3 components.
Well,
it's like breath, movement, and sound, right?
Well, that's where I feel like the 3 basic tools that we were endowed with are God-given tools for integrating discordant energies, experiences, and emotions in our lives are primarily our breath, movement, and sound. And we use all 3 of those in the technique of transformational breath. But they're all ways. Integration is basically just helping energy that would normally flow freely through channels in our bodies, our spinal channels, our nerve channels, our muscular channels. Just on a very physical level, if energy gets locked in a muscle, that muscle is going to tighten up. We get a Charlie horse or a cramp, right? That is actually an energetic block in that moment. So when the muscle, when we relax, we let that energy start to flow, and the muscle then releases and the energy's moving again. So this happens on a physical level, but this is also happening on that emotional field and even the spiritual field. So the integration is a process of helping those stuck energies to move again. And I come from a philosophy that the body and our higher being is inherently intelligent. It inherently knows what it needs to bring itself back into balance if we just introduce the right elements, essentially right foods, right hydration, and ultimately right oxygenation. So we're talking primarily about the oxygenation here. And as we breathe in oxygen. That oxygen is actually a carrier for pure life force energy, or in Sanskrit terms, it's known as prana. You may have heard that in yoga class. The prana is just our pure life force energy, the highest components of energy that brings to life, makes us mobile beings. And so when we bring that energy into our field, it intelligently starts to rechannel these blockages. It helps loosen up our hold on stuck energies, and then it helps usher those energies through the proper channels so that we can integrate it, so that we can find ourselves back in a healthy, harmonious, energetic flow, so that as life is like the breath, a receiving and a giving, a receiving and a releasing. And if we're holding at any particular part in our body or our emotional field, we've created a block that doesn't allow for that pure natural flow of life to happen. So this is what I mean when we talk. So basically, the breath helps that moving. You can shake out your hands. If your hands are all cramped up and you shake them out, you're moving energy. That's why people will often experience an emotional release in yoga class, because you'll get your body into a position that will all of a sudden unlock a channel, and the energy starts to flow, and it creates an emotional release. So that's the movement. And then sound can do the same thing. Just we do what we call toning in breath work, which is like making a clear, pure tone. But singing is an accelerated form of toning, or a very higher level form of toning, and that's why we can feel emotions move when when we sing along with a powerful song.
Got it. Okay. And I know that there are like 4 or 5 major areas of integration. Do you want to just touch on those really quickly?
Sure. The number one, this whole work came into being back in the 70s with a technique called rebirthing. And rebirthing really addressed the first major trauma that we experience, which is birth trauma. Trauma that happens at birth, where we don't even have control over the situation. And notice a healthy birth in and of itself is a traumatic experience. I mean, you're in this safe, comfortable space, and then all of a sudden you're pushed down this canal that's way smaller than you, and then you pop out into the world that's very bright and cold, and they put drops in your eyes and they smack you on the butt, and it's like, welcome to the world, let's just mess with you. And that's if the birth is normal. Now, if there's any complications, like they have to use forceps, or there's a cesarean, or anything like that, or you get the cord wrapped around your neck, or you come out prematurely, all these are very traumatic experiences that we lock in our cellular memory. And so that birth trauma can come out with the breath work. The next is self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is another major trauma that we find relief with the breath work, where we're despite our best efforts, we're constantly thwarting ourselves to succeed. And these usually come from deep ingrained emotional patterns, emotional traumas that happen in our lives. Again, we talked about continually stuffing those bags of emotion, and this is self-sabotage is a major way that these energies continue to influence us. So we have this great opportunity, and all of a sudden we wake up 2 hours late and miss it, or we have this wonderful person that comes into our lives, and then we say something to make them, distance themselves from us. And, all these behaviors aren't us truly. They're a reaction to this discordant emotion coming up. So again, we can clear that with the breath work. Another one is authority issues, where, we learn to have this love-hate relationship with authority that basically from growing up, our parents are our first authority. We learn how to find unconditional love in conditioned ways, basically. We learn that if we're good, if we get an A, then we get love. And if we get a B or C or D, then we're bad. Or if we do this, we can get love. If we do that, we're shunned. And so we learn a conditioned form of life, and then we start to resent that, and we rebel against that authority. So this issue, once again, is something that the breath work can really help
with that integration.
There's one called the unconscious source urge, which what we used to call it the unconscious death urge, which is a little bit more morbid than the source urge. The idea really is that when we come in from source into our being, there is this natural draw to want to go back to source. In fact, in spiritual philosophies, that's a significant thing, and we're striving to become one again. However, when it's dysfunctional is when it's unconscious and we find ourselves engaging in risky behaviors, like X game type of stuff, or mountain climbing without ropes, or playing chicken on the highway, or exploring drugs and alcohol. You get even people who find themselves chronically sick. Oftentimes, this is a result of this unconscious source urge, this desire to go back to source, but not harnessed to a healthy patterning. And so we need to go back and clear out the patterns that have made this a dysfunctional experience. And then the last one is what we call other times, basically. We used to call it other lifetimes, but we recognize that not everybody believes in past lives. If you do, you can see that oftentimes what's going on for you in this particular life is not totally a result of the things that you've done in this life, but energetically things that, your karma that's brought with you, those energetic baggage that's brought with you from lifetime after lifetime. Now, if you don't believe in past lives, still other times or other lifetimes comes in the form of an ancestral lineage. So it can be in our DNA that that certain patterns of behaviors or certain ways of being have come through our ancestry. Or it can be even the ancestral lineage of our gender. A lot of people may experience the pain and suffering of past generations of their gender or of their nationality or of their faith or their sexual orientation. Those larger subsets that they're identified with can be channels through which you express some of the trauma and discord that subset has experienced. And again, the breathwork can help to harmonize those energies. So those are the 5 big areas of integration that we talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even know if you and I ever really talked about it, but I think you helped me with this because I was, I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, as you know, and my mom had a cesarean, and I was pulled out from her ribs with forceps. My brother had his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. So lots of birth trauma going on in that situation. Born 2 months early, preemie. I couldn't think of the word I was trying to think of there. So interesting as I'm hearing you say that. And, one of the big topics in the community that I serve through my channel right now is releasing karma, past life, situations coming forward that have repeated that over and over, and really getting to a place in this lifetime in respect to completing the karma that came from all these past lives so that you can make different decisions and take a path that's in your highest and greatest good. And it releases you from the things that have held you back from getting what you really want, or that have kept you stuck in relationship patterns, or, lack of self-love, or, whatever it may be. So I think that's a really big one for integration in this community. So I know that a lot of people are going to be interested in talking to you about private sessions and potentially attending your seminar. And I think, you've helped me with those areas, and that's just an area I think you should expect, by the way, that most people will want to talk to you about, is that karma clearing, that past life reoccurrences, how to handle the integration process with that, as well as that concept of returning to source. I think that's a real important one as well. So let's keep moving on. There's another area that you really helped me with, and now I teach it not just on my channel, but I teach it in the private sector. The people on my channel know that I have a training and development company. And, in the private sector, when I'm working on team building and conflict resolution and leadership development, things like that, I now use these tools there in addition to my channel, or I should say I use it on my channel in addition to that business, which is tapping into your intuition, having clear intuition, understanding your intuition for decision making. And the tool that I use now, and that you use in breath work or in your spiritual counseling, and you taught it to me, and I now use it in the work that I do, is this difference, or the concepts, I should say, of expansion versus constriction. And and how it impacts using or understanding that concept, how it impacts your career, your money, your relationships, your romance, everything. So could you touch on that? Are you frozen?
You froze a minute, but I think you just said, could I expound upon that a little bit? Sure, and this is a good time to pull this out, which is the book that I was part of, Align, Expand, and Succeed, Shifting the Paradigm of Entrepreneurial Success. It was a volume of 40 different conscious entrepreneurs speaking about their own particular experience about merging consciousness and business. And ultimately, as you get into it, it's really merging consciousness in any facet of life. But my particular chapter was on making powerful, important decisions in your life. You come to a crossroads, you can go this way, that way, or you've got two jobs to choose between, whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be two, it could be multiple ones. But the method really employs the breath in a modified fashion to figure out what your intuitive soul, what I call your core resonance is with that particular issue. So what your soul really is wanting versus what your head is wanting in any particular case. And in the book, I outline my chapter with my story of struggling to make the decision to stay or leave the monastic order, the monastic life that I had spent 10 years in and for all intents and purposes had dedicated my life to. You know, the decision was akin to choosing to get a divorce, leave my hometown and quit my job with no other one to immediately go into, all wrapped into one big decision. So if anybody out there has made any of those decisions before, there's a lot of stress and anxiety and self-doubt and all those kinds of things. So one of the things with the breath work is I feel like it's an amplifier for our intuitive insight, meaning that as we bring in this life force energy, remember the highest unit of energy which enlivens our being, it is akin to our spirit. It is the activating agent to our intuitive insight. So as we bring more of that energy in, our intuition is coming online stronger. Now, the technique in a nutshell is to take all of your decisions, let's just make it two for the sake of ease. Do I go this way or do I go that way? Do I take this job or do I pursue an entrepreneurial lifestyle, for instance? You, as clearly as you can, outline the parameters of what each of those are, so you know on a mental level what you're weighing. And the difference here is, it's interesting on a mental level, and I do this all the time because I'm a very mental kind of guy, writing out pros and cons lists. And it's like on paper, a choice may, one choice may look a lot better than another choice, but inside may be a different story. And this is what I'm really getting at. So in my case, on paper, staying in the monastic order seemed like the logical thing to do. I'd spent 10 years of my life there. Everybody was telling me it was the last stop in my spiritual evolution. The world was a scary place, that I had no home, I had no job, I had really no money. If I left, what the heck was I going to do? So on paper, to stay looked very appealing. But going through this process, I weighed the decision. So I need to stay. And as I breathed on it, I just felt into, was the experience feeling contractive or was the experience feeling expansive? Did I feel as I dwelt on that particular path like something was opening up for me, or like the energy just felt heavy or constrictive? And as I breathed on that staying option, interestingly, it felt like it was closing down. It felt like something was, suffocating me, essentially, that I wasn't moving. And then then it took, continued to work with the breath, but then breathe into the other option, leaving. Where the heck am I going to go? What am I going to do? I have no idea. But as I breathed into that option, this sense of expansion just opened up. There was this lightness, this openness, this wonderment, this excitement that was coming out of me. And this, I feel, was the intuition coming forward, and again, being amplified with the breath work. So as many of us know, the voice of intuition is often very quiet. It's like a whisper. So having an amplifier, just like and their voice out, the breath helps amplify the voice of our intuition, and amplifies those feelings of contractiveness or expansiveness that are there already, but sometimes we need a little help feeling them. So this was the main tool, or just the main gauge as to whether the choice was really in alignment with your soul or not. And in the end, it was telling, for my particular case, it was telling me to leave was the expansive thing. And when I finally let go of my mental hold on the idea that staying was really better, and I said, I feel like I need to leave, it was the first time in my life I ever experienced that, what they say, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I literally felt a 40-pound weight had come off my shoulders, and I was like dancing around, and I ran to the phone booth, and I called I think I called my mom first thing, and she was overjoyed that I was leaving. She never liked that I was in there in the first place, but we get back to these things are really fundamentally very simple, but most profound aspects of our life really are very simple, not always easy to tune into. We've got all the static of life, all this bombardment of advertisement and loud noises and excitement and things we have to do, confusion and all that, relational issues, and so all this is going on, and that intuition's trying to, hey, go this way. So this process really helps us to get that opening, and just the simple understanding. You can use that in everyday life. Just start doing it on innocuous choices, like, should I drink coffee today or should I have tea? Feel into which one feels better, and start to develop that relationship with that sense of expansion or that sense of contracting.
Well, I think that now would be a good time to tell the people who are watching, who already have seen the video, about my work that you helped me with, which was recently I went into a panic mode about something I discovered, and it sent me into panic and fear and incredible sadness, and I was stuck. I couldn't move. I felt stagnated. I couldn't breathe, and I reached out to you in panic, and thank goodness you were there. And I was constricted, and I couldn't get my breath to move through my body. I couldn't function for 2 days. I couldn't get anything done. I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't hear my own voice. I couldn't do anything because I was in that fear and that panic mode. I was pretty much paralyzed, as you recall, when I reached out to you and I said, help, I need you, like right now, I need your help. And you were there, and you helped me release that constriction and be able to move to that space of expansion so that I could think clearly, so that I could hear my inner voice, which I pride myself on. It's what, has been part of my spiritual evolution. It's one of my gifts spiritually, as it is so many people on my channel who follow. They have, tremendous amount of psychic abilities and spiritual gifts. I couldn't tap into my intuition. I couldn't hear messages. I couldn't do anything because I was in such a state of constriction and felt so bound by it. And then working through that purging process with you, breathing, talking it through, releasing, crying, really tapping into you having me just do those intense breathing exercises from, all the way down into my root chakra and sacral chakra, all the way throughout, really released it and expanded. I could finally, I think if you recall at the end of that conversation, I said, thank God I can breathe again. Like I couldn't even breathe. And then I was able to think clearly and make some sound decisions that made sense for what I needed to focus on from that point forward. And so I think that for me, that was a true, realistic, practical experience of the difference between expansion and constriction in my own life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, your story is a good illustration that we all get stuck, no matter how, and, you do have a high degree of intuitive intelligence that functions well most of the time. And, when our own issues come up, and we all have the Achilles heel, we've all got things we're working on, myself included. So it's helpful to have somebody to help release those blocks at times. And that's just, especially people who help other people, a lot of times you'll unconsciously take on their energies, or your energy and their energies sort of come to a head, and you're holding all this energy again, and then it's trying to move through a channel, and just like just like trying to wedge a small pipe, it takes some doing to get it to go through, but these processes can help, once again, get that energy moving and flowing, and then that when that flow is happening, that flow state is really, to me, the essence of life, where life is a flow. Life is a continuous movement of energy. And as soon as energy stagnates, that's when problems happen in life. That's when physical diseases and dysfunctions happen. That's when emotional and mental problems start to occur. And that's where we feel spiritually lost or disconnected, or in those dark nights of the soul.
Yeah. And those dark nights of the soul are something else. And there are a lot of, in the, you there?
Yeah, we
cut out for a second there. That's something that people in the community that I serve, that's going through this conscious awakening and ascension, and mainly the twin flame community, really experiencing lots of dark nights of the soul and purging, really healing childhood wounds and all sorts of things, going through massive integration to be able to release those areas of our belief systems that no longer serve us and are not even true, really, that have just been, built up over time. So it's really very helpful to be able to have support when you're going through that. I was very fortunate. And to be able to be carried or held in a way, in a safe space to be yourself while you're going through that integration or that healing and integration process.
Well, I do want to say, especially people who are taking on I want to say, what's the right word? Taking on the challenge of working with their twin flame is a high level endeavor, because from my perspective, again, from a spiritual perspective that I come from, your twin flame is somebody that's really there to propel your evolution upward. And that's, that is the highest, again, from my perspective, that's the highest endeavor that we're challenged with on this this planet, to evolve, to grow, to be better. And our twin flames are somebody that's going to help us to do that. Now, and often, as we've discussed, it doesn't show up in the form that you think it is. Meaning, a twin flame doesn't necessarily mean somebody that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but it's somebody that influences the rest of your life because of because of that great connection that you have on an energetic level. And that's the good news, and that's also the challenging news. So my hat goes off to all the people that are engaged in this endeavor, because it is a challenge, and one that's worthy of taking on.
Yeah, it's not, we say in this community, it's not for the faint of heart, by any stretch. And I always have people on my channel that carry different perspectives. People on my channel know my perspective about twin flames. I believe we choose this before we come into this lifetime to heal our karma, to be able to ascend, evolve, grow. I think that many twins come into physical union. I think we're always connected because of that intensity, that flame, those flames that come together to help you really rise like the phoenix out of the ashes. Whether you come together or not, the journey is really not about that. The journey is about your wholeness, your healing, your ascension, your evolution, your connection with source, and your divinity within. And the bonus is you have somebody who mirrors to you what you need to learn in order to attain that sort of understanding or freedom, or whatever you want to call it, wholeness, based on my channel name, Whole Again. So 1111. So as a spiritual counselor and healer, you have a keen ability to dig into souls, to wipe off the muck, to see clearly enough to pull out the muck, to get rid of it. So for someone wanting to really dig into or do a deep dive into their own healing process and integrate and transform, what services do you recommend, or what program do you have that they can learn about or invest with you? And by the way, to everybody who's watching, I'm going to put links to everything Christian mentions in the video summary section. So just know that you can find all of this information below the video. But Christian, in regards to services, programs, that type of thing, what do you recommend for somebody who's just getting started, or somebody who really wants to do that deep dive?
All right. Well, I've got a whole echelon of things, from free to minor investment, always an investment in your evolution and your personal growth. So all money is money well spent. But just to start off with, anybody that would that would email me, that would want to know more and stay on my email list and get updates about what's going on with me, I'm willing to offer them a free about 30-minute YouTube in this technique of transformational breath work. That
Christian, you cut out, so I'm going to have you repeat that because it cut out through the whole thing. A 30-minute YouTube video?
Yeah, a 30-minute YouTube video explaining the transformational breath technique, how to do it step by step, so that you have a clear understanding. And then I would say that you could do a 5-minute version, maybe a 10-minute version of that which is a good daily practice to start out with. Is just 5 minutes of this breath work. You'd be surprised at what kind of shifts and changes can occur just from that much. So that's free if somebody will offer me their email address and let me know where they're from and what state they're residing in and all that. This book and the techniques that I've got in here, and like I said, a number of other authors are offering their perspectives and insights on integrating consciousness and business, and consciousness ultimately, and relationship and lifestyle and all that. So an ebook version of that, people could could purchase for $11.11, 11.11, to go along with your channel here. Then have a guided MP3 of a more of an hour-long version of that breath work. That's something that somebody could purchase for $22.22. If people want a little bit more intensive or deeper, and an interactive approach with me, I do Skype sessions, which is basically for using the breath work. I can do sessions by Skype or FaceTime or whatever, as long as they can set up a video for me to be able to see from their basically abdomen up to their throat, so I can watch their breathing pattern and can coach them from there. It's a combination of coaching, spiritual perspective coaching, and then getting into the practical application of the breath work to help release those energies. So a 2-hour session of that we'll do for $222. And then what I really feel is like the pinnacle experience, and obviously the most investment in time and energy and finances as well, is the week-long personal transformation seminar that I offer. The next one's coming up in San Diego in August 29th through September 3rd there. So it's a 6-day event where we dive into this breath work. We're doing longer sessions twice a day, and we do a morning kickoff where we do that basic 5-minute, a little bit extended, more like 15-minute warm-up session, as well as a number of practices we introduce to get you used to keeping things going in your life, an abundance practice, a physical and energetic exercise practice. We do various permutations of this breath work. We breathe in body temperature water, which is a very rebirthing type experience. We breathe in pairs, looking at each other's eyes. We breathe with mirrors. We do higher level, we go through the physical, emotional, and spiritual dimensions of the breath. So as we progress, we work with each of those dimensions on clearing ourselves physically, working with those emotions on that level, and then learning to connect more deeply and really enhance our meditations on that spiritual level. So all that, right now, I've got for that seminar is $1,650. There's been an early bird running, and I'm going to just say it's probably going to be close to done by the time this is aired. So for your folks, whatever time this comes up, I'll extend that early bird for 2 weeks, from whatever date this goes up on your YouTube channel. So, so if somebody's interested in that, just let me know that you saw it through this channel, and so I'll retroactively give you that early bird special, which is $155 off. So roughly 10% off. So it will be $14.95 for somebody coming in at that early bird special.
And Christian, it's a week-long program, and is that a certification program, or can you go a little bit deeper into that? Because I know it's one of your pinnacle programs, and if somebody is really interested, and I would recommend anyone who's watching, if you really want to do a deep dive into your healing and you really want to explore this modality, this is a great opportunity to do that program. Can you just really quickly, is there a certification that comes with it, or no?
You locked up again, but I know what you're asking. So yes, this is what we call levels 1, 2, 3, it's the personal transformation seminar. So this is your own journey into your own healing, your own working with your breath, your own discovery. By the end of it, you will be very confident in being able to conduct self sessions, learning how to just breathe yourself, and you might even be able to, breathe your friend or your brother or sister or your husband or wife or whatever, without any qualifications, so to speak. However, if you're interested in becoming a facilitator, if you get interested during the session, or you're already interested before joining that seminar, it is the first step in the whole ladder. So after this seminar, levels 1, 2, 3, is level 4A and level 4B. Those are actually the hands-on facilitator skill trainings. And with that and a few practicum sessions and some books to read and all that, you get your certification, and then you're able to breathe people, individuals officially. You can hang your sign out as an official transformational breath facilitator, and you can breathe, small groups of people. If you ultimately want to become a trainer, which is the status I'm at, where you're offering these trainings, or you're wanting to breathe larger groups of people, and have longer, weekend or week-long programs, then you'll want to take the last level, which is level 5, which is basically trainer training, learning to disseminate the message of this breath work, learning to, the nuances of handling large groups versus small, individuals or small groups of a couple people, and so those are the step-by-step trainings you need to take in order to become a facilitator and then ultimately a trainer. But the one that I'm offering is the first step, whether you're just doing it for yourself or whether you want to be a facilitator.
Great. So for all of you that are watching, my recommendation to you is gauge where you're at right now. If you believe that you need some support in releasing some blockages, really starting to integrate some experiences. If you're feeling really constricted, stagnated, you're not seeing forward movement in your life, in your work, in your, in your business, in your relationships, if you're having trouble getting out of bed every day, or you just can't function in some way, I would encourage you to start to explore this modality with Christian. I think that if you can afford a private session with him, the 2-hour session, it's a great way to really invest in yourself and your own healing and transformation. If you aren't ready to invest in that yet, you can certainly download his or purchase his MP3. I'd also recommend the book for 1111. There's also going to be that free link to the YouTube. If you can do the program here in San Diego, I would love to see all of you invest in that for yourself. And if you decide to come to San Diego for that event, let me know, and I'll try to meet you for coffee outside of that event so we can meet in person. I won't be at that event this year, but I will try to meet you if you come to that San Diego event.
A wonderful bonus.
A wonderful bonus, a little perk, right? If you have the opportunity. Christian, is there anything that you would like to share with the viewers before we wrap up? Did we miss anything, or is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I will add one more offering. Is not totally my offering, but I do want to invite people that really, it's the highest price tag item, but where I am now the resident breathwork director is here at Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. So this is a unique environment for personal transformation. It's one of the most intensive experiences people can have on this planet right now, I believe, as far as really working out an incredible amount of stuff in a week's worth of time. The program here works with the breath work. That's why I'm here. We have breath work on 3 days out of the 7 days of the week. The other 4 days, we use plant medicine, specifically ayahuasca, as a tool for really revealing, who you are, merging with your soul, and ultimately healing your heart, which is the trifecta of this program, what it's designed to do. It's incredible. It's intense. It's not for the faint of heart, to use that again. And but it's situated in beautiful Costa Rica. Food is wonderful, largely vegan with some other options. But and yoga. Like you said, the breath work, a lot of really intensive classes. We have guest speakers here. We got Michael Beckwith coming next week. Many people might know who he is from the Agape Church in Culver City, California, and a host of other great speakers all the time. So it's really a wonderful place, and this is where I am now. Work and living here for an indefinite period of time. So, when I'm not off traveling to do my own gigs, this is where I reside and where I'm hosting people. So come on down if you feel like that level of.
Okay, so we'll put a link to Rythmia Life Advancement Center as well. So if you're interested, you can reach out to Christian for that. And I haven't done ayahuasca. I'm familiar with the potential of it. I'm exploring it. I may end up doing it here in the near future. I've been to Costa Rica. I haven't been to Rythmia yet, but Christian encouraged me to come. So you never know. I might have a trip coming up here soon. Christian, I'm so grateful to you. You know how much I care about you, and I'm so eternally grateful for the work that you've done with me individually to help me heal and transform and transcend and evolve. I feel like we're in this together. You have been a key teacher and healer on my path, and I'm forever grateful. That's why I wanted you to come on the channel. I think your work is critical and so important and so helpful to those who take advantage of it. So thank you for being my guest tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I could say pretty much the same things back to you. I think that's what's made this relationship so nice, is that we meet each other as equals, and we recognize where our weaknesses are is where the strengths of the others are. And so you've helped me in many different ways, and your reach and your new clan of people here that you're currently serving and helping and integrating with is, I think, just to me, it's wonderful to see you expand and grow like that, and wonderful to get a chance to spread the message of what I have to offer, what I've discovered with it, that fundamental foundational practice of just working with the thing we were born into life with, our breath. And so I encourage everybody to start experimenting with that, even if it's just taking a few deep breaths in your day and seeing how that changes the course of your moods or the course of your thoughts. So thank you.
You're welcome. Just to let everyone know, Christian will probably return to my channel for a live chat in the next few weeks. And during that live chat, he'll do a demonstration with the breath work, and he'll walk you through that. I think we're still planning on that, right, Christian? Yeah. Okay. So plan on definitely catching that if you can. We'll do a live. Christian will do a live breathwork demonstration, and then I'll manage the chat room. You can ask him questions, and he can do impromptu coaching and counseling on the channel during that time. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. I'm really grateful for your subscribes, your likes, your comments. I hope that you found that the Power Hour, however long we've been on, I don't know, today was helpful to you, and I hope that you take advantage of the opportunity to learn more about Christian's work or work with him one-on-one. More than anything, I'm sending you all love and light and blessings. We'll be back with you soon.
Blessings to all of you. Thank you.